Okay. All right. Thanks everybody for coming today. I know it's rainy and cold in some places like it is here in Toronto. So hopefully you have a nice warm tea or coffee in front of you and you're ready to do some learning. So thanks for joining us. This is part 4 of our Team Trajectory series, the final part of 4. This one is profitability, master your compensation, budget, and economic model based on the top 1% producing teams. I'm Jenny Spahn. If you don't know me, I manage team services here at Royal LePage. And if you want to revisit, I'm just going to copy my link, revisit any of the previous sessions that we've done. The other 3, 2 of them were, before the summer holidays kind of hit. And then we had one in September, and this is our last one. I am putting right now in the chat the link to the team's training section, specifically where you can find the Team Trajectory recording. So all the first 3 are up there, the videos, as well as a PDF of the slides, and this one will be up there once I'm able to get it up. Okay, so feel free to go back and review those anytime you want. I also wanted to share with you something that's just come up. We're going to be doing a session on, and I'm just reading my notes so I don't mess it up here. We're doing a webinar next week on October 20th called Show Me the Money, Understanding Your Team's Profitability. We all like from Cuba Gooding Jr., right? Show me the money. So Carolyn Werner, who's our Director of Brokerage Management Services here at Royal LePage, she's going to be leading the session. And it's going to take a deeper dive, a deeper look into a lot of what Kathleen's going to talk about today to further support you in understanding how you can look at your team as a business separate from yourself as an agent and make informed decisions on evolving your operation, growing your team, and consulting with peers and experts. So it's a must-watch webinar. I am also going to put that registration link in here for everybody so you can sign up for that. Okay? So it's kind of come together last minute. So I'm going to do a Facebook post too, and I'll also include details for that in a follow-up email after today's session. Okay, so a couple housekeeping things. First of all of you are automatically muted in this webinar format. We have the chat and we have the Q&A. Can you put questions that you have in the Q&A section? It's a lot easier for us to keep track of them and check off once we've answered them for you. So that would be really, really helpful. And I am going to send out a link for a survey on your feedback from today's session. So please take 2 minutes to do that for us. I'd really appreciate it. And lastly, this session is being recorded. Because you've registered, you will get a copy emailed to you as soon as I have one in my hands. But they are also going to be put on that link on the RLP network under team training as well. So lots of places you won't miss out. Okay, so again, we're really lucky to have Kathleen with us here today for our 4th session of the series. Kathleen is CEO of North America's leading performance-based team coaching and training platform, delivering her proven success techniques to individuals and teams around the world as a globally recognized mindset and performance expert and speaker. She's a 2-time best-selling author of Top 1% Life, Shift from Chaos to Calm in Your Business and Life, as well as Relentless to Rise, Your Path to Personal Expansion. That's Kathleen's life story, and inspire the full-length documentary, The Relentless One, directed by Emmy-winning director M. Douglas Silverstein. So please join me in welcoming Kathleen back today to share with us. Thanks, Kathleen.
Thank you. Thanks, Jenny. I'm excited to be back. I mean, I'm kind of sad it's our last of the initial 4 series team expansion webinars, but I think we've covered a lot of ground. So I'm going to share screen and thank you again, Jenny. Oh, sorry. Jenny.
And we have Kathleen back for our team event coming up on November 16th, the full day of team lead training. So some of you maybe have heard about that already too.
Yes, thank you. Because there's a lot we're going to cover at the team event as well, and have some Royal LePagers who have implemented some of the key systems tools we're going to talk about today. So I think that will be fantastic. And the week before, we have actually 2 weeks before, we have the Royal LePage Teams event. We also have Ultimate Team Summit. So we're just reminding everybody, because as team building partners with Royal LePage Canada, you do get a discount to attend, and you can join a bunch of other Royal LePage team leaders and top producers who are expanding their businesses and using these tools. So we would love to have you there. Today, for anybody who tags us in a post to do with profitability, we're going to be giving away 2 tickets, 2 gold tickets to Ultimate Team Summit. So if you really want to go, here is an extra incentive, extra chance. Just make sure you tag me so I see it, and we'll pick 2 people and you guys can come and be our guests, which we would love. So that's coming up November 2nd to 4th. So today is a super, it's funny to say the word super with the title I'm about to say, but it is an extremely important topic. Of the thousands and thousands of budgets I've overseen for top producers, for brokerages, largely for top producing teams, I can tell you that profitability and the way you build your business, your what we call an economic model, it's a make or break for expanding your business. So often, you know, we have these mega teams or even mid-sized teams that we kind of put on a pedestal and, you know, we really want to be like them. Or like, how do they have, you know, strong team support? How do they recruit great agents? Those agents are producing, you know, the team is profitable. How does this work? And often those large teams that are able to expand the way they have, it's because they did forecasting with compensation upfront. So for us, we have done at this point thousands of times where we've literally built out how we compensate team members, how we put expectations for where we're investing money within the teams for top teams before they build so that they could scale with ease. So what we're going to talk about today is, I can't emphasize enough how important it is. It's a make or break. There's a lot of content today. This is a really specialized niche aspect of team building. So although for some of you, you might feel like I'm being quite detail oriented and be like, okay, there's a lot of numbers. We're actually just scratching the surface. The great thing as you build is that all systems, if you've been on webinar 1, team creation, team leadership is webinar 2, webinar 3 was team performance. If you've been on some of those webinars with me, you know that I'm constantly emphasizing that for a high performance team, all the different systems and processes need to click together. This is actually vital. That's part of team synergy. So if you're building your business in a way that you're using a system that already is protecting your bottom line, already is protecting the percentage you're investing or the percentages you're getting back or what you're paying out to members on your team, then you're already protected in advance. But if you're making it up as you go and you don't know how all those pieces click, let alone where they're going to take you in the future, you're actually proceeding with a lot of risk in your business. And we don't want that for you. So we're going to cover quite a bit today. I've intentionally added some extra content because you will get a PDF of the slides. So there's some slides that I'll go over a little bit more high level just because we have a lot to cover today. And then you can read them after if you'd like to dive a little bit deeper. The other thing to remember is we are, pardon me, we're webinar style for Zoom today, which means we do have the Q&A feature. So please, as we go, throw your questions up there because you don't want to forget about them. And again, there's a lot of content. So you can put them right in the Q&A feature, and we will have a couple of polls that will go out today as well. Oh, and I'm just seeing Chris. Wish I could 10. Yeah, Ultimate Team Summit is the week before NAR because I will be in NAR as well, Chris. So I hope to see you there too, and Follow Up Boss Conference right before. It'll be a whirlwind of travel. So I hope to see many of you. If you're there, come and say hi to me for sure. All right. So on that note, let's get started. We are your team building partners. We're here to support you, and we have a lot to cover. So I'll leave it at that. But there are discounts to coach with us and all of that fun stuff. You see some great Royal LePage names here, not all, but many, and there's many, many more that we've worked with. I want to say again that when you see people who have quadrupled their business, 6 times their business, like 600% improvement or 2000% improvement, those people are not having that expansion by accident. They're truly spending the time to make sure their numbers make sense in advance, which is something that all scalable businesses do. So it's not something that's optional. When you get to a certain level with your business, understanding your finances is vital for growth. It's truly, again, a make or break. The size of an organization rarely reflects the actual work they do. I really love this because we're going into talking about finances. And sometimes we look at it and say, we need more help. You know, I need a marketing assistant, or I need another administrator. I need a deal coordinator. You know, I need a personal assistant, which how many of us don't need that in the real estate industry? I know I certainly do. So we need a personal assistant and a business assistant, right? We're all dreaming of all this support. But the reality is, just because we add people to the organization doesn't actually reflect the work we do. You can have teams that have 20 people that are doing less production than teams we coach that have 8 people, and teams within the Royal LePage brand, you'll see this as well. So it's not necessarily how many people you have on the team, it's how efficient you are, how well you're set up, and the fact that your numbers actually make sense. Because sometimes we're hiring and we're killing our profit margins, when really what we needed was some systems and processes. The more people we hire, the more confusing sometimes it gets. So we want to today just cut through again, as always, to as leaders, where am I trying to go? Most important question we can ask, where am I trying to go? Do I have the confidence to put things in place to get me there? Do I have the bravery to say yes to things that are going to allow me to achieve the destination I want? And it is bravery. Bravery is the right word for that. You know, average is very average. It's easy to kind of look around and say, hey, you know, what are other people doing in our office or in our industry overall? But the top 1%, they model the best, forget the rest. So they're brave enough and audacious enough to do things a little bit differently that actually give them stronger businesses, not just for themselves, but for the people who trust them, who work with them. So as always, we're focused on efficient, productive, and profitable, the most efficient, productive, and profitable team systems globally for real estate. That's what we're focused on implementing. So we've talked about the ultimate expansion strategy a couple of times in our time together, and I just wanted to highlight the 2 key areas that profitability is going to fall under. So initially, step 3, those of you who have reached out, who downloaded the ebook or ordered the book, The Top 1% Life, you have a whole chapter on that. So that's when we're figuring out how do we leverage in a way that is an educated risk, and how do we assess the numbers to understand when we're actually losing money by not expanding and hiring help, or by paying too much for the wrong things. So that chapter is going to help you a lot on how to leverage in a way that will protect your bottom line. The second area we're going to talk about today, and that's avoiding common and costly mistakes. So common and costly mistakes, one of the top ones is going to be compensation, but there's also training and recruitment. And they're fundamentally linked to your profit margins in a massive way, and to your performance and production. So those are the 2 key areas that are going to be connected to what we're doing today in our expansion strategy, if you've been trying to assess where you are at on that particular journey. So let's get started. Let's jump into it. First thing, there are 3 sets, not 1, not 2, there are 3 in sets of vital tracking and forecasting metrics that we 100% need in a high performing business, not just a team, but any sales or service business that wants to be a high performance culture. You want to throw what you think they are in chat? I just want to see what we're going to come up with. And remember, we're talking about profitability and budgeting and numbers here. So what 3 vital tracking and forecasting metrics would we need to have to be in a high performance position as a business? Whether your team manager's overseeing it, your director of operations, or yourself as a team leader, you need to have your finger on the pulse of certain forecasting tools and or dashboards to be successful. So what do we think they are? I'm just opening up chat here. Okay, excellent. And excellent, Chris, I just saw your response. Yes, please come and say hi. We have 2 sessions on Friday, and a team, I'm running the large team networking session at NAR as well. So I'd love to say hi to some of you. Thank you for that. And Val is saying for metrics, how many listing appointments you convert, how many your listings sell, how many trips it takes to close a buyer. Absolutely. So Val, those are really critical metrics for tracking performance in the business. So thank you, because we all need to be reminded of those all the time. It is so absolutely critical. For this, we're talking about specifically for economics profitability. So I just want to see, Maddie, thank you. Objectives, goals, tracking system. Yeah. Okay, I love this because we're all giving top metrics, and I'm going to zone zone, focus, dive deep. I'm losing my own word right now. We're really going to, anyway, I'm not going to get the word, but we're going to hone down on the specific ones to do with our finances. So Chris says total sales, total expenses, and I didn't get the end, so I'm just going to pause. There might be one more because there are 3. Still thinking. Okay, fair. Okay, let's jump into this because, and keep throwing them up there because I'm only going to go one by one. You won't know all 3 right away. It's really, really important. I feel like I say it all day long because I do. As a business owner or a team leader, being able to hyper prioritize is everything. You are not going to be able to have your finger on the pulse of thousands and thousands of different metrics and details every single day, but you can have your finger on the pulse of dashboard style metrics. So dashboard style metrics will include what all of you like Maddie and Chris and everybody's contributing in chat. That could be daily. How many calls have I made? How many of appointments have I booked, etc. On a financial scale, we're more likely to be, for some of our metrics, to be looking at monthly, quarterly, and annual numbers. So those are going to be really important to us as team leaders because these numbers are a bigger scope. So I'm going to present it in 2 different styles, just so we understand what these metrics do. And this is something that you build over time. Okay, so the numbers I'm about to show you, like I have teams that, you know, I was coaching with for 3 or 4 years before they did like full budgeting and forecasting. So this is not for you to get overwhelmed with. This is for you to identify where you're at now, what your next step is, and then where you can grow into in the future. Okay, so first of the 3 metrics is forecasting. That's all about the future, and really, really important. All leaders are visionaries. All leaders are visionaries. You cannot lead without a vision of where you're going. It's impossible. So remember, if you're not envisioning the future and creating the future, you are in management, and management is all about the present. Okay, this is so very critical. As leaders, when we get stuck in the present, our energy can get down. That's when we start to feel like we're on that conveyor belt, like we're working a factory line mentality, because we don't have that energy or the hope or inspiration of where we're going towards. And we don't see the hope that we're getting towards something better. So whether it's in finances and economics, or it's in actual business, forecasting for a business plan or a business strategy, executive summary, whatever you're doing, budgeting is about the future. Okay, so the first metric we need is the budget. And the budget is very important because when we're operating a team, we're one potential employee of the team, or potentially a contractor who's a member of the team if we're selling real estate, and we're potentially an owner of the team, right? It's our business. So a budget is going to allow you to take, hopefully, once you're far enough into team building, to take your actuals from the year before, bring them into a budget, which is not actuals, it's for forecasting the year ahead, and make adjustments and say, how many team members do I have right now? Do we need to recruit some more people? Do we need to do specialized training in some areas? Because we know we have weaknesses as a team, which you're going to need tracking to do, right? Do we need to recruit? I spend a lot of time supporting empowering people on our teams to reach for their dreams, empowering people on our teams to see that they are the leaders of their own businesses. And this is really powerful because when you do that, you bring in their numbers and their goals. And then as a team, we say, okay, what's our goal for the team next year? How many agents do we need to have that? What are the agents' goals? What's the gap between where the team wants to be and where we're at now? How am I paying myself as a team leader? This is something you want to deal with on the budget. You want to look at how you're paying yourself as a team leader for the how you're paying yourself as a sales agent for the buyers and sellers you're helping. That needs to be dealt with on the budget. How you're paying yourself as a team leader for your salary, also dealt with on the budget. And what your profit margin is that you're striving for. This is really important, and that's all identified on the budget. Now, if you have a really strong budget, you're also going to have categories. So you're going to want to lump your expenses in certain categories, and you're going to want to compare that to what we call an economic model. Now, an economic model is brilliant because it's like a North Star again. It's saying, hey, if we're making, 1.2 million in GCI next year, or 500,000 or 300,000, what percentage of marketing overall should we be spending? Oh, wow, I'm looking at my budget and my budget's at 30% for marketing next year, but really I should be at 12%. Okay, wait a minute, something's off. What are we doing? What's working? What's not? So there's so much that we can do with the budget. What I want you to resist doing is quotas. It's one of the least effective ways to retain team members over time and to get them into a place of accountability. You can give people quotas all you want to try to keep up with your standards, but if you want individual leaders on your team who are striving for their own goals and who are empowered to take accountability for their businesses, quotas are not the best approach. It's really empowering them the same way you empower yourself, right, as a business leader. So number one is budget. So I'm seeing in Zoom, number one, or chat, number one is budget. Number two, which is about the future. Number two is firm production. And this is about the present. So this is management. So we've done our budget. We've set our goals for number of deals we want to sell. We've set our goals for gross commission income, not just for the team, but for each team member, even the new recruits. We're forecasting the new people we're bringing in. And maybe for some of you, you might be forecasting moving some of your personal deals to other team members. Maybe for some of you, you want to increase your personal deals for whatever reason. All of that thinking that goes into your strategy throughout the year is going to happen when you're doing your goal setting and you create your budget. And I also recommend, it's not part of this, but that's also where you create your strategic plan, where we watch some of the other webinars that we have done. I believe it's webinar 2, where we talk about the 3 different functions in your business and identifying the weakest link. You're going to want to have a strategic plan of what you're covering per quarter, right? To protect your budget and protect your performance, okay? So much goes in to budgets and firm deals, because in order for them to be effective, you need to have systems and processes that are going to give you predictable results. So any high performance team is going to have a certain way they approach new leads, a certain way they approach a listing presentation, a buyer consultation, a buyer who's seen 50 homes and doesn't want to make an offer, right? Every team is going to have a certain process for that. And the reason they're doing that is they're safeguarding performance, right? So in this market shift, what are we doing to safeguard performance? We're focusing on the present. But in the last couple of months, we didn't focus as much on firm deals because we were focused on leads, appointments set, follow-ups, appointments met, and new contracts. Why were we focused on that? Because that's what we had the most influence over. Now it's trickling over, and the teams who are doing a good job focusing on what they could influence are trickling over to the deals coming to fruition. So firm deal tracking is very, very important. And sometimes team leaders will say, well, I've got a bookkeeper and the bookkeeper's keeping track of, my dollars and cents and what's coming in when things are closed and what doesn't close and what we're paying out. And that's super important. We're going to get to that in a second. But the actual firm deal, as well as the performance tracking that some of you put in chat, that's your best chance of having a crystal ball. As a team leader, I was just talking to a team leader this morning who's launching an app to do with farming. And so they're showing me their tracking around this. And they said, it's kind of just like when we implemented like your buyer system, your listing system, we tracked everything and we could see exactly where we were strong and exactly where we were deficient. And so all the coaching went around pulling up our gaps, our weakest links. Tracking present firm deals is allowing you to see how you're doing in real time, so that you don't get 6 months into the year or 8 months into the year and say, oh, wow, I thought we were doing really, really well because we had, $200,000 in closing bump into 2022 from 2021. But the reality was in real time, we weren't firming up deals. And that's how we're influencing the present. So number one, for future, we need a budget to guide us. That's the vision of where we're going, how we make decisions. Number two, we need to track firm right now daily performance, and that's based on the present. Number three is where your bookkeepers and your accountants, in my opinion, come into play if you have them. And for some of you, if you don't have them yet, and you probably have an accountant, but if you don't have a bookkeeper or somebody helping you with receipts, or you don't have a great software program to help you with that, that's a great goal. If it's not your genius area, it's a great goal to set, to have somebody support you with that, because obviously it's a mess if we get behind on our taxes or HST and all. We do not want to do that as a strong business. So the third is looking at past performance, and that's what profit and loss is. So profit and loss is a great indicator on how we have been doing. But in our business, because we have delays on closing, it's not a great indicator often on how we're doing today. So we need all three of those sets of numbers to be really grounded with the team, but you're not going to have it all right away, right? So I would say minimum, you need profit and loss because we have to do our taxes. We have no choice. And you want to have the firm deal. If it takes you a little bit longer to get to your budget, that's okay. You might be in the initial building phases of team, and that's something you can get to a little bit later on. So those are the three. So if you have questions about that, throw it in Q&A so we don't forget later on. And how many people are operating with those three metrics now on a high level, like a monthly, quarterly, annual level? Who's monitoring effectively past, present, future? And if you're not, which one are you not doing? Which one do you need to add? Awesome, Jessica, thank you. Brian Mass, thank you. Fantastic. It takes a while to get to that, so I fully congratulate you. It's not easy to have that all going, but once you set it up, it's invaluable for sure. Jim, thank you. Awesome. If you need to add all three, and Jim, you're not alone, that's for sure. You want to set a goal of which one's most important. Jim, I'm going to assume somehow, like if you're doing accounting for tax reasons, you probably have some of it. When you come on, if any of you come to a workshop we do on this, like the team leader business planning and strategic plan workshop, when we do it, we dive a little bit deeper into how to set all of these things up, because even if our bookkeepers are doing our numbers in a certain way, but your budget doesn't match it, it's very difficult to get the data you need. So you want to line up like your categories and your percentages so you can easily compare apples to apples. Super helpful. And Chris is just about to launch the team in November. Good to know what I need. Yeah, for sure. And same thing, Chris, like don't try to get all three at once. You want to get one or two and then build as you go. Yeah, Mike, absolutely. Bookkeepers are beautiful things when they're good, when they're good. Okay, awesome. So I'm happy for those of you who are already on board with that, and those of you who now know where you want to get on board with it. Okay, so next, this is a section where I've got extra materials for you guys, okay? So when you see me and you're like, she didn't cover all of the slide, it is not an accident. It's because I'm giving you extra resources. So now we're going to talk about the three top team building mistakes, but we're going to talk about them in relation to profitability, because they hit your bottom line again and again and again. And we want to remember that the mentality that teams are like brokerages is going to leave you with a huge loss at the end of the year for production and for bottom line profitability. They're very differently structured businesses. So we want to understand how some of the core systems and processes are going to impact keeping you guys at a strong profitability margin. And just to pause, because I think it's important, if you guys want to throw it in chat, why do we want a healthy profitability margin? Why do we need a healthy profit margin? This is really important. Like, money is not bad, right? Money is what you do with it. Why do we want a healthy profit margin? Just throw up in chat as a team. Why would that be important? Just want to see what we put in place. Because before I tell you the things to watch for to have a healthy profit margin, we better revisit if we think we need to, right? So Matt says to survive. Yeah, you know what, Matt, there's some business owners who don't see it that way. They're like, well, as long as we kind of break even, we're okay. I would say any market shift would prove them wrong, personally, and I've watched it again and again. So I agree with you, Matt, for sure. Val, to reinvest into the business. Yeah, for sure. We're going to talk about that with economic model, Val. You might want to have what I call reserves that are going to allow you to reinvest into the business. And then your profit margin kind of can be you pull the money out, or yes, you leave it there for the future when you want another project for sure. And Diane, to get a good evaluation of your business, if you want to sell, your book of business. Yes, yes, and yes. And at the end of today, we're going to have some indicators on how easily you could sell either your book of business, your business itself, or have residual income, which some of you, I'm sure, would like. Okay, so let's jump into it. 3 mistakes as they relate to team profitability, including compensation plans. So mistake number 1 is literally how we pay people on our team. Now, for some of you, that might be your team support, again, marketing, your stagers. This could be anybody on your team, because end of the day, math is math. And I can't tell you the number of times people have been upset with me because I'm a systems person about math, but I've said, hey, like, I'll give you the calculator. I can't change the numbers. Like, we have to either move what we're spending or move what we're saving. Like, we have to adjust somewhere. So commodity myth is really dangerous to us in real estate. When we sit down at a table with a seller at a listing consultation, if we're talking about like 6%, 5%, 4%, 3%, whatever you guys are doing, you're putting yourself in that commodity hole. And we all know what that feels like, because the minute you're a commodity, it's like, well, she was 5% and he was 4% and all realtors are the same. It's very difficult to differentiate yourselves. Teams are not commodity driven. Teams are net value driven, which I think the best brokerages are as well, 100%. It's different on a team level because we're members of teams. We have more quality control. We have more minimum standards. We're investing at a heightened level of training and tracking our results to a much more like finite level, right? We're getting into the nitty gritty, so to speak. So we don't want to be in a position where we start to ask other teams in our marketplace, well, what are you paying people for a buyer deal? And what are you paying people for a listing? A great business that is able to expand is always built based on business principles, okay? You're gonna have values and purpose and vision driving that business. Please don't get me wrong. Business principles are not the heart of the business, but they are the mechanics. They're the engine of the business. And this idea that our vision, our purpose, our values, our passion for what we're doing, our purpose in life is opposed to business principles and having sound systems and having a strong engine in our car makes absolutely no sense. We need both of these things to work together to have a strong, high performance team. So when it comes to compensation, it's something you really want to spend time looking into. If you're listening to this, you're like, well, I'm already a team, we're already compensating at a certain level. Maybe that's working for you, maybe it's not. I've had, hundreds of team leaders come out and say, hey, we want to have this shift in the business. And we always thought we had a good compensation plan, except now we can't move things. We can't hire other people because we don't have the margins to do it. And we're hitting a cap again and again. Or the one that's happening more and more as teams are maturing more and more is, I always thought I'd want to sell forever. I'm the team leader. I don't. I'm selling 80% of the business. And I can't afford to move that business to my team members, and I don't know how to do it, and they're not converting at the same level as I am. That's very popular. Or I want to sell the business, but hey, I just figured out I am the business after 20 years, right? So there's a lot that goes into compensation to protect you as you grow your business, but also later when you want to maybe move out of it or take on a different role. So I highly recommend you invest in looking at this. Like, compensation models can be the difference in 16% higher profitability. That's our model. So our model is that the teams that we help scale, some of the large teams in Royal LePage that have grown very, very quickly, because they have a much larger profit margin, but they also have team members who are selling more. So it's not that the team members are making less net money, they're making more net money and they're doing more production. However, the history of real estate, the commodity conversation is, what percentage are you making per deal? Are you getting 70? Are you getting 40? Are you getting 50? Our industry is much more sophisticated than that now. It's going to be increasingly so. So when we have digital marketing and we have, staging, and we have all of these different expectations and technology, we all know we could rhyme off 100 of these things, right? That we all need to deliver behind. It becomes about the environment that's going to allow us all, not just one of us, all of us, to deliver at a higher level. And that's when we want to look at things like quality of work life pillars, because those are This is based on the research of how and why people stay in great organizations. So it's all great and fine to say, why do people leave? Some people are going to leave no matter what. But when we study why people stay, it is not just about money. I can't emphasize enough that if you're paying out 80% to every single one of your team members for every single one of your transactions, you have 20% coming back into your business. That's just math. What's your overhead for expenses at the end of the year? You probably have to sell if you're on that type of a compensation model. And the reality is, team members on teams who make 80% leave. They don't all stay. They're not all happy. And why? Because the reason people stay in great organizations is because they have opportunity for growth. They have opportunity to help more people, to learn more, to expand as leaders personally and professionally. They have security in that business, that it's not going to go under, that their team leaders aren't, fighting in the office all day long, screaming, and it's chaos, right? Or they're feeling unappreciated or unseen, all of these things. And third, compensation. Compensation is only one of 3 pillars that are equally important to people who stay in great organizations, including teams. So we want to understand how to break this down. So team compensation options, we need to consider several things. When we create a compensation plan for a team, like when we were working with Mike Heddle to create it, or Signature Sold, or Amy Flowers runs with our model, and many, we can rhyme off Alyssa Charlton and Chuck Charlton. There's so many that we've worked with to create how they compensate team members. When we do that, we're looking at the brokerage, the team leader, right? Fairly, we need to compensate ourselves as team leaders, the team members, team support, and those reserves that we talked about if we need to reinvest. These are all critical things to consider. But overall, there's at least a minimum of 55 factors that we look at in an agent's market and in their strategy to expand their business before we ever lock in a compensation plan. So it's a big mistake to not do your research and actually do your math. So when somebody creates a compensation system that already matches a system that hundreds of other teams have used, they have a bit of a safety net. But when you're making it from scratch, again, you don't really know how it's going to play out. And this is one of the top mistakes that caps growth of teams. It can be really, really problematic. So you can look at hourly salary. You can look at straight splits, and you can also look at mixes. We've had teams that we've created or worked with who have flat fee and splits and bonuses. They have a mix of all 3. So there's different ways that you can look at this. End of the day, if we're just saying, hey, come on my team, we're 50-50, you're losing a big opportunity. You don't want that to be your calling card, A. But B, if you're looking at, hey, we pay 50-50 or 60-40, you're not looking at the most important piece, which is that environment that's going to create success. And that's based, again, on opportunity, security, and compensation. So if we use this commodity language of splits, we lose our ability to communicate our true value on teams. And that can be really, really costly, and it'll affect you in recruitment all day long. It's just like a listing presentation. You sit down and you say, well, I'm 6% without giving any value, you're going to get a lot of objections. You try to recruit on a team and you can say you're 40%, 60%, 80% without the right value and strategy, and them understand your culture, you're going to get a lot of objections. You're going to get a lot of pushback. So we want to be really strategic around that. So net money is something we want to focus on. Business principles is something that we want to focus on when we're creating our compensation plans. And there's different ways to structure it. As I said, there's flat fee considerations. There's range to consider when we create a compensation structure. And I'm just saying it because I want to make sure I'm coming from my perspective, and I know there's different models that we work with that are great. So I'm just giving a high level here of what to consider. You want to consider your upper range and your lower range, right? Where is the team in a safe price range that the team member is going to make money, the team's going to make money, the expenses the team is taking on to have the team member are going to be much more than satisfied. What's your bottom line? How much does it cost you per year to have a team member there, if anything? And you could say in this market, this has come up a lot, and say, I have a risk-free model, right? I've got all these agents, and if they sell 2 houses or they sell 20 houses or they sell 80 houses, that's on them. They're covering all their expenses. But that's not a risk-free model, because the more agents you have, the lower your average production per agent is, and the lower your ability to have minimum standards it is in your team. Your performance environment comes down the more agents that you have, and the lower level of systems and process and tracking you have, which is a whole other conversation. So it's not, in fact, risk-free. It's not. So there's pros and cons to all the different models of how you compensate. None of them are without risk. So what's our upper range? What's our lower range to be safe when we consider compensation? How are we dealing with COI, center of influence? You might call it sphere of influence on the buy or sell side. What about your COI, your personal business as a team leader that you've built up over 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, right? Some of you have just built incredible businesses. So how are you going to work with that when you transition that to a team member? How are you going to compensate them for that? Team lead, repeat, and referral. So I've got a new lead or I've got a new appointment because my team has an inside sales agent, super excited. I go and help that person buy and sell. Now they want to buy an investment property. Well, are they a COI? Are they a team? Are they an agent COI for that agent? Are they a team COI? How do you want to work those things? So those are things we want to consider. Some of you in our community, our KBCC community, have expanded your definition of center of influence, as have we. So some of us have a past client from the team as a center of influence payout. So it's like a bonus for the team member. Some have another tier for that, which we're going to talk about in a second. You may have a leadership group, which means you need money for that in the future. A leadership group is when you have agents who are producing at a minimum level every single month. So imagine if you had agents on your team who every single month did no less than 4 deals, every single month. Now, I will tell you, there are some teams that their minimum is much higher than that. So in case you're listening going 4 deals a month, like that's a lot. It sure, maybe, like in average it is, in performance it's not actually. So there are teams that have a higher minimum than that. If you had agents like that, how would you want to support them to give them more leverage so they could grow their time in their business as well? So they're just as expansive as you. Leadership group is an opportunity for that, to say, hey, when you're over those 4 deals, first of all, we'll help you with some licensed or unlicensed features. But second of all, we'll give you a bonus per deal on all those deals over and above 4. These are just little things as you grow that plant a vision for people to strive towards, which is powerful. If the agent on the team sells one of your listings, the team's listings, and commission incentive. I talked to a team, oops, dropping thing. I talked to a team leader today in our community whose average commission right now is 5.5% across the board. So when agents on his team are going to take on a listing, if they take it at that higher percentage, for him it's between 5 and 6, 5, 5.5, or 6. His average is 5.5. There's an incentive for them when they take on listings at that higher percentages. So these are things we want to consider. If you're going to create a split model, what we do, and something I know Royal LePage believes in as well, so shout out to them on this aspect too. Again, we believe model the best, forget the rest. So that means for us, if we create a plan on how to compensate your team members based on splits, we're looking at only what the top 1% nationally or internationally producing teams are compensating for high performance teams. So what we've found is that many of them on splits are doing a 2-tier model or a 3-tier model. What does that mean? A 2-tier model is very simply new business from the team is paid out at this for a buyer, this for a seller. Your center of influence is paid out at this for a buyer, this for a seller. Maybe your team business, when they repeat with you or refer a COI, maybe it's not. A 3-tier model is when you have new team business on tier 1, repeat and referral from that team business on tier 2, and specifically only COI from that agent, like their book they brought with them, their book they leave with, on tier 3. So that would be an example of the 2 or 3-tier model. So there's a lot to consider here. For me, I've looked at these again, like so many times, it's like everyday language to me. But if it's different for you, it's something you want to look at before you finalize your structure. So as I said, goal is to make sure that you do have a higher profit margin, because it's going to allow you to invest back more into your business and expand more and have more resources. for your team members. So our goal is to have that 16% higher profit margin. So there's more money coming back into the team overall, and we're protecting, how much we're paying out to agents, how much we're paying out to salaries and marketing and client services or client events or client gifts, things like that. So important to remember, teams who pay more do not necessarily sell more. This is important, right? Again, you can make 80%, but if you're doing 2 deals a year, it's okay money. It's not great money, right? Like, we're not going to knock it, but it's not high performance money. It's not big success. So teams who pay more do not necessarily have agents who sell more, retain more, or have agents making more money in less time, or necessarily happier clients. Really important. Teams who pay less do not necessarily have agents making less money. In fact, the top teams, that's the exact opposite. They don't necessarily have less retention or dissatisfied clients or agents working longer hours. Although these are myths that we hear a lot about team building, but in high performance team, it's exactly the opposite. Mike Kettle, a few years ago, I've had the pleasure to work with Mike for many years. I wish I knew exactly how many now, but several years. But a couple of years into our working together, he was building the systems, and I've got to say, for Mike, he knows his numbers, right? He knows his numbers, he knows his economic plan. I know in chairman's and I think past conferences, he shared that. So when we created his compensation plan, it adhered to a certain structure. So when he looks at his budget, he knows what those numbers are. He knows how to predictably reinvest in the business. And that's something that's really important. And it allowed him to double his business at that time. He's done more than this per year now, but this was a couple of years ago. So within a 12-month span, because he built these things into place, he was able to go and double up to a 250 deal plus team that year, which is not by accident, right? Knowing your numbers is critical for us as leaders. Mistake number 2, pardon me, is training. So training is going to affect your profitability all day long. What we want to do as leaders is build a path to get people where they want to go. That doesn't mean it's a path they want to walk right now. It means it's a destination they're committed to getting to, right? And as leaders, we talked about in performance culture. So if you want to go back and watch that webinar, how important it is for us to really protect our energy and resources for those who are willing to walk the path. Anybody can say they want to reach a summit. Anybody can say they want to be a top 1% team or top 1% top producer. I mean, I've been in coaching full-time for a while now, like 14 years now, which might not sound like a lot, but trust me, it's a lot of coaching hours and training hours. And there's a lot of people who will say, I want to make this amount of money, or I want to build a team, or I want to do this. And it's very different to say you want to do something versus walk a new path blind, because every time we want to expand our businesses, we're walking a new path blind because we haven't done it before. So if we have team members who are saying, I want to make 250,000 on your team, but I'm not willing to walk the path that you've shown works to be successful, we're going to have issues, right? On the other hand, if as team leaders, we say, okay, great, you want to make $250,000 next year. Okay, you don't want to do whatever it is for you guys, door knocking or open houses or online leads, or you don't want to call your past clients or your COI. So far, we don't know what they're doing, but that's fine. And you say, okay, great, we'll follow your lead. We're failing as leaders, right? Our goal is to get people on a path to get them where they want to go, even if they don't necessarily want to follow the path, but they're committed to the destination. Build what others will need in the future. Do not only build for right now in the present. Remember, that's management. Others do not always know what they need to get where they want to go. This is why they see value in coming into our teams and coming into our brokerages, because we're sherping them through to get to a predictable result. That's one of the most powerful things we can do as leaders. Be so committed and accountable to somebody's actual success, not committed to what they feel like doing in the exact moment, because we all know that can lead to bad things. We all have our vices, right? That's for sure. The other reason training is so very important, and I'm not going to go through so many details. I'm going to send this to you. But all I want you to look at is when you bring somebody on, this could be an agent in the business for 20 years. So you could have an agent come onto your team who's like, I've been in the business 20 years. I don't need to learn anything new. Meanwhile, they've done the same approaches as they have in the first year of their business for 20 years. They're doing okay in sales, but they're not doing fantastic. giving them new opportunities, whether that's an ad call, a sign call, online lead, usually they're going to fall conversion wise in that rookie basket, right? The rookie is looking at a 5% conversion from leads to appointments. Now I base this on 50 leads per month, just to quantify this. And that could be 50 leads over 3 months or 1 month, doesn't matter. So that rookie could be looking at 2 to 2.5, which obviously don't have 2 to 3 appointments per month. Now, I want you to look at the mid-level conversion rate middle, okay? Because this is our goal for a high-performing agent, a really skilled agent who knows how to get results because we've trained them on the skill set. They're looking at 8 or 9 to 10 appointments per month. They're converting up to 4 times higher. When we don't train to give the key skill set that team members require to actually perform and get results, we leave massive margins on the table. So sometimes we think training's expensive. When you recruit an agent, we're going to talk about shortly, you're looking at $25,000 to $40,000 investment of your time, your energy, let alone leads or your personal, past clients that are going to work with that person. It is extremely costly not to train them on the core skills that are going to allow them to be successful and not to create accountability around it. It's a recipe for failure. If we all knew how to reach our level of success that we want on our own, we would never need any mentorship. But the reality is we thrive in mentorship because we have people who have been there before us who are willing to help us. And that's one of the key things we do with team. So if you want to protect your bottom line, often it's not, sometimes we need more leads, don't get me wrong, but often when we're not converting well, it's not more leads we need, it's training, it's systems, it's accountability, it's actual skill set that we're looking for. And I didn't go to the conversion of the experienced LCP because that's based on an ISA. So if any of you are looking at it and saying, well, why didn't you go all the way to the 23 to 29%? An ISA, an inside sales agent, they're on the phone all day long. That's all they do. We're never going to get an agent who's out face-to-face with buyers and sellers to the same level of performance as a great ISA. Not all ISAs are great. We spend a lot of time training them, but a phenomenal ISA is invaluable to a business. They're on the phones all day long. They're not going to miss their follow-ups unless they're sick, right? Not in the office or something like that. So for your agents, we're aiming for the actual middle conversion rate, the third one in. So the other tip is to make it linear for new agents on the team. Linear training means you might have segment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In order to get through that initial training, you have to do every single one of those segments in order. We find it much more successful to get to the results at the end. And this picture is just kind of a fun picture for me because I was like, okay, like how many times do we sign up to do something? And if we had an out, we would take it, right? And sometimes we bring people onto our teams, they're like, but they don't want to do the training, or, they don't think it's that exciting. And it's like, if we have an out as humans, even if what we need to do is going to help us, we often take the out, right? So we rise to our environment. So if I'm in an environment where they're like, Kathleen, like you signed up to say you want to make XYZ and you want to help this many people, well, this is something you have to do in order for that to be achievable. Now I'm in it and I can't tap out. I can't go sideways, right? And this was a hike in Vermont and we had little kids with us, and trust me, halfway through, we wished we could tap out, but we couldn't because it was linear. It was on the coast. You had to start at the beginning and go to the end or go all the way back to the beginning. And then therefore, you can make it, right? So you have no choice unless you have emergency evacuation. So teams impact a lot. Overall, as an industry, I don't believe we invest enough in our people overall, and teams really give us that ability to have these hubs of mentorship, and training is going to pay off your team members. It's going to pay off you as well on your profitability side. This is just an example in training. There's a lot that we want to have documented. Shadowing is really problematic for yourself and for your team members. It's very important to document what you do. Train somebody on what you do. Don't just hand it to them, ask them to read it. You actually want to have a container for this. Meet with them, go over it, let them know what they need to come in the next day knowing, and then help them to get their performance up. Your performance is probably already good as a team leader. We would hope maybe it can improve, but it's probably already good. It's not you we need to continue to shadow. It's learning how to invest in building other skilled leaders that's going to allow us to perform well and be profitable. So mistake number 3, I'm going to speed up because I have a lot in here, is, as I just said, recruitment. So when we go to recruit somebody in a high performance environment, you want to think about how many resources and how much they're worth that you're going to invest into that recruit. And it could be way more than 45,000. I'm saying 30 to 45,000 here. Your time isn't free. Your resources aren't free. The environment you've built isn't free, nor is it on the agent side. So we want to be set up for success. We have a 5-step plan with recruitment or process. The first, creating the position, the contract. The second, attracting talent. They don't necessarily have the skill set, but we want to attract the right talent, the right personalities. Third, communicating value. Number 3 is the most skipped step in team building. It's the one that we opt out of the most, ironically, and we're so good at it with buyers and sellers, but we're not so good at it with recruiting agents. And it's really, really important. You need to have your value proposition in a way of what's in it for the agent coming on to the team. Step 4, interviewing. Attracting talent is getting as many people as possible want to join your team. Communicating value, again, is saying who now wants to apply to join our team. Sift and sort is like, who's the value, who aligns with our values? How committed are they? Are they willing to be in a systematic, team, high performance environment? Are they accountable? Are they open to all these things? And finally, I recommend step 5 is to offer a chance to train with you as a team and do that linear hike. You're starting here. You've got to get to the end, and when you get to the end, you become part of our team. But if we can't get through those initial critical skills, why are we moving forward? Why are we spending a year and a half to figure that out? Melissa Charlton talked about this at the chairman's event, I believe in March, and she's going to be chatting about it with us on November 16th at the Royal LePage Teams event as well. It's really, really critical. And you're going to be able to hear a bit of her experience with that, because it's a make or break for us running businesses. So first, we find people are interested. Second, we assess our values and ethics. Do we align with these recruits we're bringing on? And third, are they committed? Maybe we have the same values, but they're not showing up. They're not willing to learn anything. They're late every day. Imagine as a team leader or team manager, what some of you are worth per hour. And you've got people showing up like 45 minutes late because they had to stop at Starbucks and talk to their neighbor. And you're like, oh, okay, we'll come back tomorrow. If people aren't committed, set the boundary, let them test it 3 times and let them go. Your time's worth a lot. In high performance, we have to be able to be committed to our growth. Have a recruitment presentation, I highly recommend, or a coffee meeting, but something that's value-based is going to really help you to protect, again, your bottom line. So compensation, training, and recruitment, three biggest mistakes that cost us money, cost our team members money, and bring down our environment, right? We're not winning together. So there is a report there. I've offered it to you guys before. I think Stacy might put it in chat. So I'm just going to move forward because I've got a few more things to cover with everyone today. Forecasting to shift away from sales. Learning and building over time is what's going to get you there, but building in a structure base, systematic base. Structure equals freedom. That's what's going to get you the options to grow. When you see team leaders who are, launching other businesses, or now they have a staging business and they have, they're associated with a mortgage company or whatever they're doing. We all know they have these affiliate businesses. It's because they've become structured enough in their teams that they have time for other projects. It's the same thing to move out of sales or to sell your book of business, etc. It requires structure. It also requires clarity around your team goals, and your team members' job description and responsibilities. Okay, so we're interdependent on a high performance team. So we know what market value is to pay every role on our team, and we understand what those roles need to do to win for the team to move forward together. In order to forecast shifting out of sales, we need to understand what's called cost of sale. Now, some of you probably know this term inside out backwards, which is great. If you don't, cost of sale is the term that it refers to how a business pays somebody who's actually providing the service to a client, okay? So cost of sale is really helpful to us because it says, hey, as a business owner, My job is to have that bird's eye perspective, which I know you guys are going to have another webinar on, and I highly recommend you attend that. So bird's eye perspective, I'm looking down on my business. And again, hey, I'm a sales agent. I help buyers and sellers. I'm a team leader, and I'm a business owner for most of you as team leaders on this webinar. Cost of sale is what the business pays the agent who's helping the buyer, the seller, the investor, or the renter. That's what cost of sale is. It's critical if you want residual for your business, you want to sell your business, you want to scale your business. You cannot do that without understanding cost of sale, both in relation to how you pay other team members, but more importantly, in relation to how you pay yourself as a sales agent. One of the smartest things we can do is pay ourselves the same way we pay team members, so that when we do that future forecasting, you can see exactly what it would look like if you eventually got to a place of enough abundance that you wanted to move maybe some of your buyers to other agents on your team so you could do more listings, maybe all your buyers, maybe eventually some of your listings. You see, because if you're paying yourself at 90% and you're paying other people at 60%, at one point, first of all, you're probably thinking you're making a lot more money as a business than you are. But second of all, when you go to move that money over, often that 90% you think you're paying yourself, 30, 40, sometimes 50% of your portion is actually going for your lease space, your marketing, your staging, your overhead, right? That list of everything. So all of a sudden you pay the other agent on your team 60%. You got the other 30% still coming back to you, but that was actually always covering business expenses. It wasn't really being paid to you, but because it was in your pocket, you felt like it was. That's where it gets really dangerous, and people see teams collapse, or they just say, hey, I'm just going to sell on my own. So cost of sale is also the same as your field agent's goals if they achieve them. So if you have an agent who has a goal of selling 40 homes next year, and you pay them based on whatever, 40%, 50%, I'm assuming an average, because you're going to have different tiers, remember? So if your average is 50%, end of the year, the field agent's goals to sell 40 homes and make 50% on those, that's the agent's goal. As a business, the flip side of the coin is that's your cost of sale. It's the exact same thing if they achieve it based on the number of homes they've actually sold. Team leader compensation is something, in order to shadow shifting in your business, you need to understand. So first, you want to think about, how do you pay someone else to perform the team leader, the function of team leader on your team? How would you do that? Do you have a job description? What do you do as a team leader? Would you hire yourself as a team leader? Is a question I really, really love. Are you doing a good job as a team leader? If you don't have a job description, how do we even know, right? Team leaders have really important roles in the business. When do you have the option to pay yourself as a team leader? We usually don't the first year or two, sometimes even the first 3 years. As you step away, what would you compensate someone else if you had a full-time team leader? What is market value for that? What is that worth? Are you paying yourself that on your budgets? And I recommend you would, because the question is, why would you pay yourself any differently than you would pay somebody else that you're going to bring in? Because when you're forecasting shifting out, you want to account for all the rules on the team, because when you do it for free, you're actually making your business worth less. You might be making more money, but you're making your business worth less to an outside person who might want to buy it. And that's a whole other topic, so I'm not going to go too deep into that right now. So at that point, your residual is going to be based on being able to have money and profit, because eventually residual income means you're not working any of the jobs in your business. You're not helping buyers and sellers anymore. You're not leading the team anymore, or very minimally. So all of a sudden, having healthy profit margins and having the money built in to pay a team manager or pay a team leader, it becomes vital when you're forecasting. So this is very specialized. This is a little more complicated. You want support on this. It's something that is niche, right? That you're going to do at a very high level in our industry, but the goal would be to build in a way that you have options, that you could do this if you wanted to. This is an example. Oops, there we go. This is an example actually of a national chairman's club member with Royal LePage Canada who started to do some forecasting work. So their goal was to sell less. That's specifically what they wanted. They were selling 80 homes or more per week. We got them down to 45. They were doing about 100 deals a year as a team, but they were doing the majority. just doing the forecasting and rearranging their business to make these shifts, we got them up to 200 deals per year. Finally, they went from 65 approximately personal deals on their own up to a place where the team was doing 200. They're within a year or two from now doing 5. They were doing between 20 and 5 deals per year, selling shares of the business, full-time CEO, and they have residual income strategy already in effect. Stacey Falcon shared some of the work we did in Royal LePage Chairman's, and she's going to be sharing a little bit at the November 16th event as well. So this is a really specialized strategy that if you want to hear a little bit of people actually doing it, Stacey will be there for that. So future forecasting is what we did, and what we focused on was goal setting for the team and budget, because it's all about the future. So those were the top 2 systems and tools that allowed us to create a strategy for Stacey that moved her forward the way that she wanted to have some more time, right, at home with her family and have an exit strategy eventually if she so chooses. So how top KBCC teams structure their finances. We get asked all the time, you know, how much should I spend on marketing? What should I pay my agents? How much profit should I have? I love the quote, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash flow is queen. Profit is really, it wakes us up, right? It's very truthful as to how tight of a ship we're running. Cash flow allows us to expand. So for me, I'm always like, cash flow is queen with a team. When you hear of teams in like growing teams investing a lot of money into big line of credits or business loans, that can be very dangerous. We're in an industry where if we're doing well and we have traction, we're resonating with our market, buyers and sellers, we can create cash flow. And if you're not able to do that in a predictable way that's already growing, and you don't have tracking that shows that, hey, if we doubled our marketing budget, we'd actually double our deals, you really probably want to focus on increasing your cash flow instead of getting big hefty loans, because real estate's a unique business for sure. So it's not the same as you know, getting ghost investors and all that kind of fun stuff. So we're going to put up a poll because I want to see for each of you, where is your profit margin? So if you're running as a team right now, what is your profit margin? And I want you to consider that you're paying yourself as a team leader. This is important. So if you're saying, hey, I took home 500,000 and my team sold 100,000, so my profit margin is 50%, that's not accurate. You need to take, hey, we made $1 million in gross commission. We paid out our agents 50% of that, 40%, 60%, right? And then we had 30% expenses. We had 10% or 15% in salaries and reserves. So, you know, after all of that came off, we had left 5% or 10% or 20%, okay? So it's really important that you calculate this, taking all your actual expenses, including paying yourself at fair market value for any role you do in the business. This is really, really critical. So we've got one at 25%, less than 5. So we're a mix for sure. So essentially, if you're at that 25 to 33%, like you're on path to residual income. You're on path to having options to leverage, to having options to sell shares or sell your business. You're on that track. If you're anywhere below 15%, you're really in a critical place to build very foundational systems and processes. That's an indicator to you that you need that foundation before you continue to build up. If you're in that 15 to 20%, you're in a place where you need to continue to strengthen your foundation, your systems, your processes, how you do real estate, document it, and make sure you can help other people be successful. It doesn't count anymore at the 15 to 20% or higher if you can do it well. The only things that matter if you can do them well, or if they're under your personal job description and the business is paying you for it. Everything else as a leader in a business relies on being able to help other people do it well. Okay, so it's documented. We have a training approach. We have a testing approach. We know how to track. So if someone's struggling, we can help them become better. So these are important indicators for you guys, depending what you selected here. And some of you might want to go back and look at how you're calculating profit. Okay, just to make sure that you're not off track, because honestly, 99% of the people I work with who show me a budget, they're not calculating profit properly, and they're not setting up their numbers properly for cost of sale, salaries, or to scale their business. So it's something you want to pay attention to. This is an example of our, oh, I didn't share the results with you guys. Sorry about that. I thought I did. So you can see the results on the screen now. So we have two teams who are killing it. If you guys are calculating, or 5, if you guys are calculating profit properly, that 20% and up, you're doing extremely well. There's a very small percentage of the industry that's actually at that profit margin after they consider how they're paid for sales and team leaders. So please remember, what you make for your sales and what you make as a team leader is not part of profit, okay? This is our economic guideline that you see on the screen. There's a report that will offer if you want a copy of this, and Stacy might put the link in chat. But the numbers at the top are based on per month, not per year. Sometimes people look at this and say, why are we even having an economic model if we make 50,000 a year? It's like, it's per month. So this is giving you some guidelines that when you do your budget, you can look at where your actual numbers are versus where you're trying to get to. So this is really key. And you'll notice cost of sale at the top. Some of you might be looking at this and going, wow, like that's kind of low, it's 34%. That's an average. A team, when it's starting to grow, typically if they have a strong compensation plan, is going to be at a lower percentage for cost of sale. As the team grows and they get stronger with repeat referral, either from the team or from new agent business that they're bringing in, those percentages will go up a little bit, but the marketing costs associated with creating those deals go down. So there's all sorts of factors that change as teams continue to grow and scale. So that is a QR code there. If you'd like that economic model, but you can compare it to what you're doing, just take a scan of the QR code. You guys can grab that for sure. And I'm sure we'll put it into chat. So the last thing that I want to give here, and then we'll have a couple minutes for questions. I knew I had a lot to cover today. These are 9, and we're going to have a few more, or one more, of the key things that your business needs to assess in order to determine the value of your business, the standalone value of your business. Now, why would I talk about this in a team setting? Because the same path to create a profitable business that you could sell, that you could have residual income, that you could shift your role within and not be an active salesperson, any of those options, I want to say it really clearly, all roads lead to Rome, okay? All roads lead to Rome. And what do I mean when I say that? The road to a profitable team, the road to residual income, the road to not selling anymore, the road to selling my team or selling shares of my team, all of those outcomes are the exact same path, okay? But the average way we build team isn't that same path. So these are the things we want to pay attention to and actually score in our business to assess how strong our business is as a standalone entity without just relying on us. So number 1, our intellectual property, that's what IP means. So our systems and how duplicatable they are. Number 2, our operation structure. How is it set up? How strong is it? How efficient are we? All that great stuff. Number 3, our compensation structure for paying people on our team, licensed and not. Number 4, our brand neutral or mind share. So when somebody calls you, do they still only expect to work with you? Or does your brand communicate that, you do certain things in the business and you have other people who do other things? Does your brand communicate that everybody in the business represents you, right? Or does your brand communicate that you're the only one that they're going to deal with? Now, you might want to be the only one they deal with, but if you want to sell your business, you want residual income, all that great stuff, you need a high brand neutral rating. So if you don't have that, it's going to make it hard for you later to shift. And that does not mean, just for the record, that your team name doesn't have your name in it. That is not what we're talking about. There's lots of really successful teams in real estate that have the team leader's name in it, and the team leader hasn't been at a listing or buyer presentation or offer in years and years and years. That's not what that means. It means how the public see the brand about being specifically about you versus other people they'd work with and still get a high caliber of service. Next, driver, manager, operator. It's really important for us as leaders to understand what our archetype is. Are you that driver who's focused on the future and you're building the future into creation? Are you the manager who's focused on the present and the conversion and a little bit on the past, right, with the profit and loss? Are you the operator who's on the field and loves it? It's like, I love to be at the table with buyers and sellers. I never want to not do this, right? The business needs all three of those things working together. So the bigger the business gets, if you're a driver, you're probably going to need a manager or a strong admin who's a manager archetype. If you're a manager, eventually you're going to want to partner and bring on a driver to help you. They might not be a business partner, but they might be an employee or a contractor, for example. And database, how strong is your database? How big is it? How accurate is it? Your database is everything. When they say to you, hey, delete these leads, or someone didn't talk to you for 3 years, delete it. Please don't. Please don't. Your database is one of the biggest value portions of your business. And I know with Royal LePage, they're working really hard to bring you guys resources with Royal LePage Sphere program. And I highly recommend, we're going to talk about that again on November 16th. We have Bobby Oates and Mike Heddle, Bobby from REC Canada, Heddle from the Heddle Group, talking about how important it is not just having the names in your database, but how you organize them and systemize them like to match your day-to-day business. So vital. Next is owner sweat equity. I don't know about you guys, I got into real estate based on sweat equity with investment properties. It had its time, but it's not something we want to do forever. And what that means is if you're doing a large percentage of the work in your business for free, you're not accounting for it in your financials, you're not paying yourself for it, you don't make room to pay somebody else for it, that's called sweat equity. And that brings down your business evaluation or your ability to scale. The next thing is your profit margins or residual income. And finally, this all equates to your business value overall. So it's really, really key. This is an example I'm not going to dive into very deep, except to say it's helping you assess the risk for someone else to purchase your business. And this is based on where do the deals come from. So you'll notice risk 10%, a low risk, if I were to buy into your business or buy a portion of it or buy your book of sale, whatever, at 10%, the team leader is doing like next to no deals. LCP, which is lead conversion partner or inside sales, same thing, is doing just as much or more than my team members. That means we could lose all the team members, but we've got ISAs booking appointments. We can recruit new people. We can rebuild. So the business isn't reliant on any one group. It's bigger than any one person. And that's where your risk is the lowest because systems are driving your business instead of you. Whereas 90% risk, the team leader's doing 80% of the production and the agents around them are doing 20%. That's a very high risk business. If something happens to you, if you burn out, if there's issues, if you want to shift, there's very little left in value in that business for you. So that's really problematic. So we're going to do one last Zoom poll. I know we have 10 minutes left, so we're going to do it somewhat quickly. But I want you guys to do this for yourselves because this is a big part of profitability. What you want to do is give yourself a score out of 10. So don't overthink this, okay? So you're going to give yourself a score out of 10 for every one of these 10 criteria. So just go down and be really honest with yourself. I want you to imagine this is someone else's business, not yours, okay? So I want you to imagine that your business is the person across the hall and they've come to you and said, I want to sell the business, I want to sell the book, I want out of all of it, let's come up with a valuation. And you're going to assess as if it's someone else's business, but you're basing it on your own, okay? So really critical thinking. Out of 10 admin systems, what's your score? Because you're going to add these up at the end. Out of 10, your marketing systems, do they bring in leads? So if you're saying, hey, I do TikTok videos and I've got millions or thousands or whatever viewers, but I don't have any new leads and no one's really talking to me about buying real estate, that is not a high score marketing system, as much as we might like it to be. It's not. Third, buyer sales system. Is it documented? Does it work? Is it tried, tested, and true? Can you track it? Do you have systems to support every step? The same thing with seller system. Fifth, your cost per lead. Do you know what it is for repeat referral for online business? 6, your conversion percentages. So if you're not tracking your conversion percentages, you're a 0 on that one, just to clarify, not to be mean, but it's true. So your contact to appointment and appointment to deal, your center of influence conversion. Number 7, your database, the size, the accuracy, the engagement. I'd say also how set up it is for sure. 8, your operational structure. Who works with you? How efficient is that? Does it make sense? Do you have the right support considering your leadership archetype? Number 9, owner reliance or your sweat equity, the things you're doing and not getting paid for. And number 10, the brand awareness over and above just you in the business. Okay, so I know I did that fast, but you want to give yourself a score out of 10 for all 10. So it's out of 100. And I think Stacy's going to put up another Zoom poll, and you guys can put your score out of 100 overall just to see where we fare. And remember, we're not sharing your score with other people. So I always try to remind, you're not going to like put 10 and everyone's going to know it's you, I promise. There we go. Oh,
And you can
what?
drag the poll to the side if you still need to look at those areas.
Thanks, Stacy.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
Otherwise, it's hard to read it for sure. Okay. And I will, when I'll make sure this time I end poll. I hope everyone could see the results last time. I think we could. I hope so.
I don't think we can. I don't think we can see the results.
Oh,
And
last time, no?
And last time they just popped up for a brief moment.
I think that was me. Okay, because
Yeah, but
I
I don't-
realized I had to hit end poll,
Yeah.
so I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, I see them coming in though. I really think, like, for anybody who filled out the poll on profitability, Jenny, the next session that you guys are doing the team expansion, from
Yeah.
what I understand of it, I think those of you who might have said, oh, I think I'm high in profitability, or I think I'm low, but I'm not sure, that
Yeah.
next session will really help, because how you calculate it, it's so very important, but it's a whole topic of its own.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that is what the session with
Yeah.
Carolyn Werner is going to go into in a lot more detail. Absolutely. So everybody should sign up for that. I'll put the link again, if that's helpful for everybody. I just need to find where I put it. Too many windows open on my screen.
Oops.
Um,
I'm just waiting to end poll in case anyone's calculating, but I'm going to give it
absolutely, yes.
20 seconds. And in the meantime, we've just put up our QR code. Again, if you want to talk to us, if you need help assessing this, building your business, building out any of these systems, that's what we're here to do. I'm here to help with Royal LePage agents as you build in teams. And that's a strategy call. So we can chat about whatever you need to chat about, and see if we're a right fit for you and you for us and all that great stuff. So I think, there we go. Oh, are we sharing results? Yes, perfect. So we can see where we've ended up here. We've got 25% at below 50, which is not surprising. Don't knock yourself if you get that, like self-employed, right? Like you're trading time for money. You're in that self-employed category. 33% are at high risk overall for your business evaluation to scale or have standalone value beyond you. And we have 8% build that are 61 to 70 in score. You want to focus on building your foundation with essential systems. Like you're not off track, you just want to really build that foundation. And then we have 33% that scored 71 to 85. The same, you're working in the right direction, but you want to continue to strengthen that. Right now, we don't have anybody at 86 to 95 or 95 plus, which is we're really, really like, that's where you're that well-oiled machine, literally, right? And you're getting that ability to make changes that you want in your business. So on that note, I've made sure, just Jenny, before, I know we're over, but today we had a lot of really important content and I wanted to make sure I covered it. Reminder about Ultimate Team Summit, but really important. I've been reminding everybody that Jenny and Kelly have been sharing some fantastic resources. So if you haven't used this, you're joining us now, ready to start a team quiz. You can access with Royal LePage Canada, sorry, as well as moving things here. A team leader's reality report, really important. Top producer and team leader in different roles. First steps in starting a team is another resource available to all of you. and the team playbook, your vision, etc. Another resource. And why not take all of them? When you're team building, we need all the resources.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and all of that can be found. So on the RLP network, there's a Teams tab that everybody has access to, whether you are part of a team, excuse me, already or not. So go on there and check it out. In case you missed any of those, you can always email myself and Kelly McCain at teams@royallepage.ca, and we can help you get in the right direction for what you need. Happy to help.
Absolutely.
Okay, do we have questions, anybody? We didn't have any questions.
We have one, Rick. I don't know if it's to everyone. Is there? It's in chat, Jenny.
Oh, it's in the
why.
chat. Oh, Rick. Hi, Rick. All right. Is there a training program that will help team members get better at conversion?
Yeah, we have 3 different levels in coaching. So Relentless to Rise is solopreneurs. Top 1% Life is that middle where we were saying build the foundation. Like you need to build those systems, build out your CRM, build the processes before you go up. Industry Icons is for teams. It's the first all-inclusive team coaching platform. So not only do you get one-on-one coaching time for strategy, either with yourself as a team leader, your admins, your ISA, or your team, they also get access to coaching with our experts, with our whole community. So 100%, we do workshops, we do one-on-one coaching, we do some work with an Ultimate Team Summit, and we do full onboarding. So we have teams over the year, as they recruit a new agent, they come to us and they use their coaching time, and we onboard their team members with sales skills completely. So that's something we offer as well. So thanks for asking that, Rick.
All right. Good other feedback in there. I think that's all I see. Anybody else have any questions? I mean, you can always reach out to Kathleen and her team separately as well, of course, right?
Of course, absolutely. And I mean, if you're looking into all this again, like proximity is everything. I mean, I know it's our event, but Ultimate Team Summit's quite unique, and you're with other people building teams or who have teams, both. So just getting out there and getting the mentality, but most important coming out today is just know your numbers. Like don't building how you run your finances is not something that you want to do trial and error. It can really take a business down. So just know your numbers, be really curious, watch how things are going. Like the closer you can understand the finances in your business, the stronger you are to grow. It's really so vital. So yeah, that would be
Kelly also replied to Rick quickly, and Kelly McCain at Royal LePage, and she said that we also have a lot of resources and recorded webinars on online lead conversion. I know we've developed a really great understanding and some best practices training around that from our Smart Leads program. So there's definitely stuff on there. So go to the training tab and you can look things up. Okay. All right, and I'm going to quickly, before everybody starts dropping off, I'm just going to put the survey link again for your feedback in the chat. So if everybody could just take a couple minutes to do that, that would be great. I'll be emailing out as well, emailing out the recording once we have it back from Kathleen's team, and it'll go on to the team trajectory page on the RLP network as well. So thanks again, Kathleen. I've really enjoyed working with you on the webinars, and Stacey on your team. So, and we're going to be working with you on our team leader event in November. So thanks everybody for joining us today.
Thank you.